Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today as part of our online community, listening online via podcast. We're so excited that you joined us in this amazing season, this Heart for the House season, as we get to really be inspired and encouraged with the vision over these next few weeks. So hey, sit back, listen, enjoy, and really prayerfully consider right now the part that you can play.
Well, it's great to see you all. Welcome, as they've already been welcome, to our online community. Great to have you joining us from all over the globe. Let us know where you're watching from, and one of our team will respond. I want to start by asking us a question, and feel free to write this question down. It's a big one. What would you attempt in life if you knew it wouldn't fail? What would you attempt in life if you knew it wouldn't fail? Now, I'm not after the answers tonight, okay? I want to provoke you into thinking about what would you attempt with your life? What would you attempt this week? What would you attempt tomorrow if you knew it would not fail? As we build up to October the 28th, our Heart for the House miracle offering, I believe that God wants to grow our faith. The Bible says this: He gives us each a measure of faith. He doesn't give you more than me. He gives us all an equal measure of faith, but it's up to us what we do with that faith. Amen. We've all been given a measure of muscle. Yeah. When you're born as babies and children, okay, we all have equal muscle mass. What we choose to do with the muscle mass is up to us. You can choose to do what I've done, which is to be big and strong. I'm kidding. I'll leave that right there. Who's ever taken a risk? You're not meant to look at your spouse at that moment. I remember when Chantel and we were dating at Bible school, and the dean of the college, we'd just been dating a week, and she pulled us into her office and she says, I cannot give this my blessing. It will not work. It's destined to fail. If you're watching, hey! We're still going strong. Who's ever taken a risk? Who's ever been on a blind date? No one's going to admit that in church. Okay. Johnny and Mel, was it? Okay, I won't ask. You both put your hands up at the same time. I was like, who's ever bought clothes online? Why do clothes online always look better than when they arrive in the mail? Never buy them online. I was once flying from London Heathrow to Sydney via Narita in Japan. And I was flying on Japanese Airlines. And when I got on the plane, I was only young, and I think I was coming to and fro from Bible school in Australia. I walked through first class, and not one person was in there. And I thought, what a waste. What a waste that all these big seats, they weren't seats, they were beds. What a waste to think I was going to be crammed in an economy seat with my knees in my mouth next to two complete strangers who probably we couldn't even know each other's language. I thought, so the best thing I can do is help everyone else, give everyone extra space in economy, and I would self-upgrade to first class. So I thought the best thing to do is self-upgrade, put my belt on, put my eye mask on, and put my earphones on, so it really makes me look like I should be in here. I wasn't a pastor at the time, so don't judge me. Just having a risk. So then I thought, what I'll do is I'll just close my eyes and see what happens. Anyway, the next thing I know, I get a finger in my elbow, and I open, it's this big Japanese fella, and he's got his boarding card, and he's waving it in my face. And then I realized what was happened. Of all the 30 seats I could have chosen that were empty, I just happened to choose his one. And then the air hostess, she goes, is there a problem? I said, there's no problem at all. And off I went straight back into economy, and I did the walk of shame. Okay, so I know what it's like to take a risk. I tell my wife that story. 2 years later, she said, well, I'll try it. So she was flying from Johannesburg to Sydney, and she did it, and she just smiled sweetly at the guy, and she flew all the way. So sometimes it's good to take a risk, and sometimes it's not. You know, we protect ourselves from risk, don't we? we protect ourselves as much as we can. Think about life insurance. What's that? It's just protecting yourself. In fact, we worked out the other day, I'm worth a lot more dead than alive. My wife was telling me. House insurance. Do you know you can now get kidnap insurance? I was reading all the different insurances you can get kidnap insurance. Insure yourself from getting kidnapped. There's also golf insurance. Golf insurance, in case you get hit by a stray golf ball. If you play golf with me, you probably want to just take that out before we head onto the course. But you know, we've become very risk adverse as a generation to play it comfortable. And I think probably there's a whole lot of reasons we don't take risks as much as maybe previous generations. First of all, there's the fear of failure. What happens if it doesn't work? Also, when we take risks, we're scared of what other people might think. We're scared of losing it all. I think there's a lot of good reasons why we don't take risks. But the question is, what would you attempt in life if you knew it wouldn't fail? Who would you ask out for dinner? What business plan would you execute? What city would you live in? What career path would you choose? What university might you apply for? You know, so many people in life simply get what I like to call stuck. Stuck. People just get stuck. Life's not going backwards. Life's not going forwards. They just get stuck. And, you know, I'm absolutely all for education. I believe you should educate yourself. You should be diligent. But, you know, I've seen people with all the education in the world and they're stuck. In fact, I was on the streets of Norwich a couple of months ago and part of our Soul Streets team helping feed the homeless. And I met a lady and she was telling me she had 2 degrees and all this, but she's on the streets. She's stuck. I'm all for having talent. I believe God gives us talents. He gives us gifts. He gives us abilities. But just like you, I've seen many highly talented people stuck. So is it about money? Is it about talent? Is it about education? There is one word that separates everyone. It's simply this: risk. Risk. Risk separates everyone. And Heart for the House, for a lot of us, is actually one of the scariest times of the year because it involves risk. It involves risk. And I don't think you can ever go to the next level in life. You can never go to the next level with God in your spiritual life unless you're prepared to take a risk. A risk. When I see people who are enjoying success, achieving success, and going further than me, and let me tell you, there's a whole lot of people that are going further than me and a whole lot of people going further than you. We have 2 choices when we meet people who are going further than us in our careers, in our education, who are going further than us in our marriage. We have two choices. The first choice is this: we can get jealous and bitter. You can get jealous of people. You started your business, they started their business is booming, yours is struggling. Very easy to get jealous. You put your house on the market, yours sells 6 to 12 months' time, theirs sells instantly. Who knows, it's easy to get jealous. Or the other way we can look at things when people are going further and faster ahead of us in life is this: what is wrong? We can ask ourselves the question, what is wrong with my belief system? What is wrong with my belief system? I want you to write that down. Because we all think that our belief system is the right system. It's just how life is. However, there is a reason why people go further and they go faster in life than we do. So what is stopping me, John, what is stopping you going to the next level in your marriage? What is stopping you going to the next level in your business? What is keeping you stuck in life? And it's simply one answer: my attitude to risk. My attitude to risk. This I'm going to call the land of the comfortable. The land of the comfortable. It's cozy, it's warm, there's little pressure, there's little struggle. But you know in your heart of hearts there is a land, there is an area that you can go to which is the next level. But to get there, it's going to take a lot of heartache, it's going to take a lot of hard work, it's going to take a lot of risk, and it's very easy just to say, you know what, I'm going to settle in stuck. And a lot of people stay settled their whole life in stuck. But I don't believe, as followers of Jesus, that he wants us to see us stuck. He said, I have come that you might have life. Life. And so Jesus wants your life to move forward. He wants you to take a risk. You know, a lot of us, we live and we want this to happen. We want a magical event to suddenly take over our lives, which will elevate us to our destiny. Friend, that does not happen. X Factor is not real. That's what we want. We want an X Factor life experience. It does not happen. It happens for 1 in a million or 2 million people. Life doesn't work like that. If you want to go from that level to this level, it's going to take risk. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take a whole lot of things to elevate you to your destiny. You see, we rarely regret risk, but we do regret missed opportunity. We rarely regret risk. First risk that Chantel and I took in this church, we'd just taken over a few weeks in, and there was a big space adjacent to this room, which is now the multi-purpose hall, the youth hall. And it was just a storage room. There was no equipment in there. There was no carpet. There was no chairs. We worked out to turn that into a kids' room, a youth hall, we'd need £50,000, which is a lot of money, especially when you've got no credibility with the church. And I said to Chantel, shall we take a risk and launch Heart for the House in a few weeks? Well, we've only been running the church 4 weeks. And we took this risk. I remember the very first offering for the Heart for the House came to £71,000. We'd only been in office 4 weeks. I remember thinking now, the countless thousands, the community lunch which happens in that room on the Friday, which reaches the homeless, the youth that pile in there every Friday night, the kids that are enjoying church right now. Sometimes in life, you got to get out of stuck, get out of comfortable. You got to forget what people might think about you, and you got to take a risk. You know, there's 3 attitudes you can have towards life. 3 attitudes. I want you to write these down. First of all, you can have an undertaker's attitude. You ever met an undertaker? An undertaker. What's an undertaker worried about? The past. He's worried about what people think. The second attitude you can have in life is a caretaker's attitude. Just taking care of today. Just preserving and holding on. Not getting involved in any kind of risk. But the third attitude you can have in life is a risk taker. You can be an undertaker, a caretaker, or a risk taker. I believe as children of God, God's called us to be risk takers. Amen. God's called us to be risk takers. Let me tell you, this is not going to be an undertaking church. We're not going to be an undertaking church. I think it's absolutely bizarre that they bury dead people around a church when a church is meant to be a place of life. I don't want to walk past dead people. I want to be around people who are alive and worshiping Jesus. We're not going to be a caretaking church, even though we want to take care of you. We want to keep looking to the future. We want to have a risk-taking spirit. I want to talk tonight. That was the intro. I want to talk just for a few minutes. The message is titled, Risk is Right. Risk is right. There's a famous story in Matthew, Mark, and John's Gospel. We're going to read it from the Message version in chapter 14. It says, as soon as the meal was finished, this is Jesus speaking, he insisted that the disciples get in the boat and go on ahead to the other side while he dismissed the people. With the crowd dispersed, he climbed the mountain so he could be in by himself and pray. He stayed there alone late into the night. Meanwhile, the boat was far out to sea when the wind came up against them. They were battered by the waves. About 4 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came towards them, walking on the water. They were scared out of their wits. I don't blame them. A ghost, they said, crying out in terror. But Jesus was quick to comfort them. Courage, it's me, don't be afraid. Peter, suddenly bold, said, Master, if it's really you, call to me. I'll come to you on the water. He said, come ahead. Jumping out of the boat, Peter walked on the water. But when he looked down at the waves, churning beneath his feet. He lost his nerve. He started to sink, and he cried, "Master, save me." Jesus didn't hesitate. He reached down and grabbed his hand. He said, "Faint heart, what got into you?" The two of them climbed into the boat, and the wind died down. The disciples in the boat, having watched the whole thing, worshiped Jesus, saying, "This is it. You are God's Son for sure." I just want you to think about the background for a moment. Peter and his mates, they get into a boat on the Sea of Galilee. It's actually a lake. And Peter grew up, he was a fisherman, so he knew all about choppy waters. Now, this is the Sea of Galilee, okay? I've been to the sea. In fact, I've been on this boat. Okay, this is the Sea of Galilee where Jesus and his disciples spent many, many hours together. But the Sea of Galilee is trapped between two sides, and wind travels through a force. And then my next picture is a storm, a modern-day storm. This is the same sea or lake. This is Galilee. Who knows that they're choppy waters? They're choppy waters. And a storm blows across this lake, and it wasn't just a storm, it was a life-threatening storm. So they're not just worried about crossing from side to side of the lake. They're now worried that they're going to lose their lives. But one of the disciples notices in the middle of the storm, there is a ghost-like figure. Who knows that Jesus will often show up when least expected and where least expected? 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. It says the third watch of the night, in the middle of the storm. And he summons all the disciples. He says, "Hey, get out of the boat and come to me." I don't know about you, but I'm not sure I'd have taken him up on that offer. If you're in a storm, who knows the safest place in a storm is probably in the boat, not on the water. Out of the 12 disciples, one of them responds. I don't know if this story is as much about risk-taking as it is obedience. In that moment, Peter was a risk-taker. I want to share 4 thoughts here, 4 experiences that all risk-takers have to go through. If you want to leave the land of stuck and move to a new dimension in life, there are 4 things that you've got to go through. Now, if you're feeling tonight, maybe you're a student, maybe you're a young adult, maybe you're a teenager, but if you're feeling your life at some level is stuck, this message is for you. Okay, and I want you to, if you feel comfortable, write down some notes. The first experience we have to go through is this. Risk takers experience getting out of the boat. I don't know about you, but that boat had the potential to capsize on them at any moment. It's hard enough walking on calm water. I've never tried to walk on calm water, let alone walking on stormy water. It's terrifying. Gale force winds, waves crashing. I would have been scared to death in that moment. Would anyone else be scared to death? You're in a storm, you think you're going to die, and then you see a ghost. Life isn't good in that moment. And it says in verse 29, Peter jumped out of the boat. He didn't just lower himself slowly like I would have done. The Bible says he jumped out of the boat. And in that moment, Jesus was inviting Peter to go on a divine adventure with him, an adventure that over 2,000 years later, we would still be talking about in church. I don't know about you, but I would be thinking, how is this going to end? Is this going to end good, bad? Nothing will change in your life until you climb out of your current boat. Nothing will change in your finances until you make some decisions that something's got to change. Nothing will change in your marriage until you climb out of the boat. To every student who has left the comfort of home, you have left the comfort of your church, you have left the comfort of your city. Today we salute you and we say, well done, because you are going to another level. You have left stuck. If you want to walk on water in life, you've got to get out of the boat. You've got to get out of the boat. I think God made us more than just avoiding failure. I think you and I have been made from just avoiding failure. Sometimes we go through life and all we want to do is avoid failure. I think we should try that a little, but I also think there's got to be an element of, I've got to climb out of the boat. God is calling us to abandon the comfort of routine. He is calling us to avoid the comfort of existence and leave everything and follow Jesus. You know, there's more to life than just sitting in a boat. So the question tonight is, what is my boat? What is my boat? For Peter and the disciples, their boat was a literal boat, and it was in a storm, and Jesus was calling them out of the boat. I think the boat is this. It's the thing you fear most losing. The boat is the thing you fear most losing. You're stuck in the boat of a bad relationship. You don't want to lose it in case that's all there was, but you know you've got to get out of it. But it's a boat that you're stuck in. Maybe you're stuck in a career boat. And the boat is simply, I'm not enjoying my job, but I'm so scared if I make a move, I won't have a job, and you're stuck. And tonight, I pray that this message prods you. It's a catalyst to get you out of the boat, to get you thinking that there could be more for my life. There could be something ahead of me. Maybe some of you are thinking, I wonder what it's like to have your own business. And tonight, maybe I'll say something through God's word that will catapult you to the next level. And you will leave the land, the zone, the country of stuck, and you will step up into your destiny. You're stuck in the boat of comfort. You know, when we just got married and we were living in Norwich, and it was in 2006. And Chantel really, at the first few months of living in Norwich, especially when you've lived in downtown Los Angeles, it was really hard the first year for her. Just the adapting to culture and language and so many different things. She didn't even understand how we talk here in Norfolk. And we'd bought our own home. I remember saying to Chantel, it was the worst thing I could ever say. I said, isn't life comfortable? I was a youth pastor in the church, and she just got a job at a financial company, and she was earning more than me, and life was good. And it was when I said, isn't life comfortable, that God began to stir us to move to South Africa. I don't believe that comfortable is where God wants you. God doesn't mind you living in comfort, but he doesn't want us so comfortable. Because when we're comfortable, we're relying on our own understanding, we're relying on our own resources, we're relying on us. So the first experience tonight, if you want to write this down, is risk takers experience getting out of the boat. The second thought from this story is this: risk takers experience the full force of God's power. Jumping out of the boat, Peter walked on the water of Jesus, on the water to Jesus. Peter abandons himself to the full force of God's power. You know, we've walked on hot coals. We've walked to the lowest point of the earth possible. We've walked to the highest point of the earth possible. But the once and only time in history that man has ever been recorded walking on water happened in that moment. I don't know, has anyone ever met anyone who's walked on water? I haven't. And I trust the Bible. I trust Matthew and John's and Mark's recollection. Because Peter experienced the full force of God's power. Jesus was not in the safety of the boat. Jesus was in the middle of the storm. Sometimes we want Jesus to be there, and we're saying, hey, I want it all comfortable, and God, I still need you. And God is saying, as we sang tonight, I'm calling you out upon the water where feet may fail. And God is calling us out. Heart for the house, God is calling us to trust him. There is a big difference between knowing about God and trusting God. You know, a lot of people know God. A lot of people know about God. They know about his son, Jesus. They know the story, the Easter story and the Christmas story we're going to be unpacking in the next few months. People know about God. They know about Jesus. But do people actually trust him? And Peter, he went from knowing God to trusting God in a simple moment in that storm. But John, I've never experienced the full force of God's power. You will never feel that when you're sat in the boat. You never have to trust God staying in the boat. You never have to trust God staying in the boat. Someone needs to hear that tonight. You can know God. Your eternity is secure in Him. But you will never have to fully trust God until you have nothing else to trust in. When we moved to Cape Town, South Africa, for the first 12 months, we had no jobs. We had no salaries. We had nothing but our savings. But we had this thing that, God, we can trust you. We can trust you. So what am I not doing which I could only do with the full force of God's power? You see, when we give generously and sacrificially, what's happening is, what we're saying is, Jesus, you can really take care of me. But you have to get your feet wet. You've got to get your feet wet. God always requires the first step. We think about the children's story of David and Goliath. David had to collect and pick up the stones and pick up the sling. He had to take the step and walk out onto the battleground to meet Goliath. I think about someone else who experienced the full force of God's power, and that was Noah. In a desert which had never experienced any rain in its history, God calls Noah to build a boat. Well, it's quite normal to build a boat in the UK when we experience so much rain, but when you build a boat, people didn't even know what the word boat was. People had never seen a cloud, let alone rain. And God says, hey, if you want to experience the full force of my power, first of all, you've got to take a risk. And then you've got to sit back and you watch what's going to happen next. David, Noah, Naaman. God said to Naaman, wash yourself 7 times. 7 times and your leprosy will disappear. Each one of them had to take a risk. Last week, I was invited to speak on a panel in Luton to a group of church pastors. And they got asked to ask us questions about church and various things that we're a part of. And one of them asked me, and they said, what's your biggest mistake? What's your biggest mistake since planting Soul Church? For me, I didn't even have to think about the answer because I knew it straight away. My biggest mistake since starting Soul Church is this: not taking enough risks. Not taking enough risks. Because every time we have taken a risk, God has met us. Every time I have climbed out of the boat, whether it's feeding the homeless, purchasing a unit, every time building the youth hall, sending money to churches, helping charities, every time we've committed, every time we've done something significant and we've taken a risk, let me tell you, God has been there in the middle of that risk. And so the question I have is this: why haven't I taken more risks? What's keeping me back? Some of you are thinking we take enough risks. No, we don't. We will never experience the full force of heaven's power until we activate it. I want to experience the full force of God's power. 1, risk takers experience getting out of the boat. Number 2, risk takers experience the full force of God's power. Number 3, risk takers, you're going to love this one, experience problems. Hands up again. Who's ever taken a risk and said, oh, that went wrong? Why is that problem? If you think this message gives you a license to soar to the next level without some degree of problems, you are wrong. Let's go on with the story. He jumps out of the boat, he begins to walk on the water, and then he hits a snag. When he looked down at the waves, churning beneath his feet, he lost his nerve and started to sink. Reality in that moment, it sets in, and Peter's thinking, what am I doing? All my friends are in the boat, they're in the safety of the boat, and I am on the Galilee lake. I'm getting beaten by waves, and he takes his eyes off Jesus onto the problems, the storms, the waves around him. I don't know about you, but often when I'm going through a storm, when I'm going trying to take a risk, whatever it is in my life, it's very easy to get so caught up with the problems around you. You go for that business idea, and then you realize that you don't have enough money. You set out to do something with your life, and then you realize there's so many obstacles against you, and our natural reaction is to focus on all the things that are not happening, all the reasons why we can't. Let me tell you, the last 12 months of this church have been the greatest 12 months we've ever had on every level. Giving, attendance, people finding Jesus, connections. It's been an amazing 12 months. But it is no coincidence that the last 12 months of this church, we have had more problems than ever before. If you want to go to the next level, here's the good news. It's possible. Here's the bad news. There's going to be some problems. There's going to be a whole load of setbacks. People you thought were with you might not be with you. The money you thought you had, you might not have. And if we take our eyes off Jesus, we will sink. If we take our eyes off the focus, that's why at the end of that video I said we need to keep Jesus Christ at the cornerstone of everything we do. Because if our vision becomes a building, if it becomes a facility, let me tell you, we're going to sink. We are treading water. We are walking forward without the right money in the bank, but we're trusting God. We're getting our feet wet. All of us, by the way, it's not just me. We're all in this. If I sink, you sink. Are we in this? We're in this. Heart and soul, we're all in. At times, I'll be honest, I thought about climbing back in the boat. Be a lot easier just to stay at Mason Road. Be a lot easier just to scrap the soul foundation and not worry about the people. Just focus on us and let this be a little happy, clappy, fun community here where we're all safe. But that's not what God's called us to do. He's called us to take steps on the water. And there might be setbacks and we might fail at times. But let me tell you this, it never ever said that Peter sunk. It said he began to sink. But then it said Jesus stretched out his arm. You will never sink when you are serving Jesus. You might make mistakes. You might mess up. There might be setbacks. But Jesus' arm is always outstretched. But we have to risk failure. I read this on Instagram today. A winner is just a loser who tried one more time. A winner is just a loser who tried one more time. Some of you just need to try again. Maybe you're one more risk away from your promotion. Maybe you're one more risk away from that idea taking off. I don't think Peter failed that day. Some of you might think Peter failed. I don't think Peter failed. I think the people who failed were in the boat. Peter was the success. I tell you who failed. It was the one who stayed in the boat and watched. I think Peter was a success. And you know what Peter done or did? He taught us a valuable lesson, which was this: when you take a risk, keep your eyes on Jesus. Peter taught us that day. I want to write these down. 3 questions I always ask myself when I experience problems. 3 questions. So when I take a risk and I experience problems, there's 3 questions that I've always asked myself to make sure that this is a worthwhile risk, and it's also a risk that is from God and not from me. There's 3 questions. These are really important. Write them down. If you're taking a risk, before you take this risk, you need to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, can I still trust God? Can I still trust God? Don't start a business. Don't try and buy a new home. Don't try and do anything in your own strength, but in God's strength. Can I still trust God? The question I ask myself with the vision for this year is, can I still trust God? And the answer is categorically yes. Yes, I can. I can trust God. The second question, and this is just as important, is this, and you can apply this to business. You don't even have to be a Christian or a follower of Jesus to apply the next one, okay? This is the question. Am I at peace? Never make, I'm not talking about colorful socks. Is it a blue day? Is it a yellow day? I'm not talking about that decision. I'm talking about this. Never make a life-changing, career-changing investment, anything big scale without this. Do I have a peace? Do I have a peace? The question is not, does it make sense? That's not the question. because a lot of times you'll make decisions in life and they won't make sense. So I didn't say, does it make sense? Because a lot of risk will never make sense. That building makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense, but let me tell you, wow, what a peace. What a peace. Chantel and I have got such a peace about this church and the future of this church. I had people say to me, you mustn't sleep at night. Honestly, the only thing that keeps me up is my kids. But the peace of God, it surpasses any understanding. So can I still trust God? Do I have a peace? Do not date someone unless you have a peace. Oh, but they're really cute. Do you have a peace? Do you have a peace? Because if deep down you think, this isn't going to work, and your mind's not at rest, it ain't going to work. Got to have a peace. Can I trust God? I'm at peace. Number 3, is Chantel with me in this? My worst decisions in life, I've made on my own. Now, some of you, you're 16 and thinking, that doesn't apply to me. You're right. Just file it. You'll need it later. If you're married, do not be making big career, business, financial decisions without, first of all, can I trust God? Secondly, am I at peace? And thirdly, are we at one? Every decision I've made that Chantel and I have disagreed on, it has not worked. She'll tell you about it. I'll put it in our book when we're older. It's not the right time. So that's just a little piece of wisdom for you. Number 4, and finally, and we're going to finish up. This is where we pull this to an end. Risk takers experience being marked by God. Being marked by God. Peter's life in this moment was going to be marked forever. I want you to think about this, and I'd never seen this before. This was a revelation that God gave me yesterday in my office, and I just want you to just consider this for a moment. I'm going to paint a picture. In just a few months' time, Jesus was going to hang on a cross. He was going to suffer, and he was going to die. And he knew that his work on earth was done, but he also knew that he was going to create a movement called the church, which is what we're a part of. But who knows, any business, any organization, any movement, it needs a leader. You need a leader to drive things forward. Everything rises and falls in life on leadership. And so Jesus knew that just in a few months he was going to be going back to heaven to be with his Father, and he knew he had just a couple more jobs to do, and one of them was to assign a leader to the church. Someone who could continue on the work that he'd started. Now this is an absolute bizarre story. First of all, why did Jesus let the disciples go out onto the boat when he knew that there was a storm coming? I think that Jesus, in the back of his mind, was thinking, a few weeks from now, I'm out of here. I need to just test to see which one of these has got a little bit of grit. Because whoever's going to lead and build and formulate the church has got to have some risk in him. And so I'm going to look around. What I'm going to do, I'm going to place them in a scenario. They think they're going to get hurt, but they're not. It's all good. It's all safe. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to allow them to go at them. I'm just going to whisk up the waves in the wind. I'm going to get them all scared. I'm going to see which one of them has got a little bit of oomph. There's oomph in triumph. And I want to know which one of them's got a little bit of oomph. So he puts the storm into action. Ooh, it's John. And he's like, well, I've got 3 special ones. There's Peter, James, and John. James, where are you when I need you? Come on, step up. Step out of the boat. And he's all scared. He's doubting God. And John, he's like, oh, it'll be John. It'll be John. It'll be John. John. And John's asleep. He's trying to get away from the thought of even climbing over the edge of that boat. And out of nowhere jumps Peter. He's been a rascal. He's a tearaway. His language hasn't always been good. He's been a fisherman. He's really rough around the edges. And Jesus is thinking, anyone but Peter. Not Peter. And Peter comes flying out of the boat. Jesus is like, I've got my man. I've got my man. He doesn't say a thing. He keeps it to himself. He keeps it to himself. 2 chapters later. Let's read it. 2 chapters later. He says this. We've just read from Matthew 14. This is Matthew 16. He says, come here, Peter. Come here. I've got a secret. You are Peter. And on this rock, I am going to build the local church. I've looked at every other one of them and I love them and they're dear to me, but what you've got is something a little bit extra because you've got the spirit of a risk taker. You've got something that's going to propel you forward. You've got something a little bit extra. You're not educated. You're not that gifted. You smell a bit. Your language is really rough and ready, but you've got some grit. Can you see this tonight? Students, many of you, God has called you here to university. But He's not just called you here to uni. He's called you here to take some risks. Take some risks on campus. Tell people about Jesus. Tell people about church. I believe that this church is going to be marked as a risk-taking church. In decades to come, this will not be known as a church who was down here, who played it safe, who was comfortable, who was prepared just to keep it all in the boat. But we're going to be known as a church. We will experience problems, but we will experience the full force of the power of God. And God is calling us to take some risks, to step up, to step out of the boat and jump in. The mundane, the average, it is lost and it is forgotten forever. But God wants to mark your life. He wants to mark your business. He wants to mark you forever. But you've got to get out of the boat. You've got to get your feet wet. You've got to experience some problems. And you will experience the full force of God's power. So what would you try with your life if you knew it couldn't fail? What would you try? Because Jesus isn't into failures. He's into successes. He's into your dreams coming to pass. Maybe people have spoken death over them, speaking badly about them. Jesus is saying right now, what you need to do is step away from the negativity. Step away from what was being said. Step away from the mundane. Step away from safety. You know, the safest place for ships is the harbor, but it is not what they were built for. It was not what they were built for. Ships were built for storms. Ships were built for storms. Ships were built to take on the challenges. So I want to pray right now. If you're saying, you know what, I've been stirred up. I've been absolutely in the land, I'm living in the land of stuck, in the boat. And tonight, whether it's a dream, whether it's an idea, whatever it is, a relationship, you're saying, tonight I'm refusing to live in the land of stuck. I'm going to step out of the boat. I'm going to live the potential and the purpose that God created me for. I'm not going to listen to naysayers. I don't care what people have said about me, but I am moving forward. Watch your boat. It's time to step out of it. It's time to get your feet wet. If you want to get your feet wet tonight, you say, I want to go to the next level. I want you to lift your hand right now. I want to pray for you. I want to pray for you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Father, right now, there's many people in here tonight, Lord, who are stuck. And Father, we cannot come unstuck without the help of your Spirit. And so, Lord, I pray even tonight, over these next few days, you would help us take a risk to go to the next level in our business, in our work, in our relationships, in our finances. Father, as we go to the next level, we will be fully reliant and trusting you, Father. Lord, we will not let go of you. We
Thanks for joining with us today. We hope you felt inspired by the word that came through today.
That's right. And if you really felt something in your heart, if you call Soul Church your spiritual home, and that means you're part of our online community, you're listening right now via podcast, iTunes, we really want you to prayerfully consider the part that you can play. Maybe you can help us, support us. So if you can, head to soulchurch.com, and we know that there is a miracle about to break out with our new building and blessing those who are in a greater need than ourselves. So thank you in advance for the part that you're going to play. God bless.